Whisper softly that I might see you again. Hold me down and watch the water rise. Pull me out and bring me back into this life. 'Cause I'm ready for a forest fire. Forest fire. I'm needing forest fire. Forest fire. Mountain lions in the distant view. Clouds of smoke and all the sky has turned from blue. So passing down is so west to say. Houses only used to evacuate. 'Cause I'm ready for a forest fire. A forest fire.
Who are we? It's a question I often find myself asking a lot. How do we define that? What collection of traits makes us who we are? Does our past define us? Do our futures define us? Are we a definition of our present selves? Do our biggest shames define that personality? What about our biggest regrets? For me, these are almost certainly questions that Ellie is thinking of throughout her 3-day journey in Seattle. Does her loss of Joel define her? Almost certainly, yes, it does. Her loss of Joel defines her present self. Her understanding of Joel defines her past self, and so on. What does answering this question really do for us? Not a whole lot, but it's nice to have an answer, right? The new question I ask is, who is Ellie now that she has lost Joel? She's in this relationship with Dina as a way to ground herself. Ellie knows this. She returns to Dina as a way of connecting to her old self before the death of Joel. But the entire time, it feels a bit fake. She is masking the real emotions that she is feeling, which is very clear, and I'm definitely not projecting that upon her. I hope. The only time that I feel that Ellie genuinely engages with Dina, like Dina makes it past that mask that Ellie is pushing forward, is when Dina tells her she is pregnant, and Ellie responds with,
I'm gonna be a dad. Yeah.
This is kind of a bit weird for Ellie to say, but that's the point. The fact that Ellie sees Dina's pregnancy as a chance to be a better dad is great character writing. In episode 6, we start with a flashback to Austin, Texas, 1983, Joel's childhood. We watch as his dad comes in the door looking for Tommy to put some sense in him for buying pot, but Joel protects him and tells his dad that he was the one that was buying pot. Joel's dad sits down and tells Joel about his childhood.
Did I ever tell you about that time I stole a candy bar? I was 10. Grandpa found out, made me give it back, made me apologize to the cashier. And then we went home. Just before I got out of the car, man, it broke my jaw. There was blood everywhere. Grandma thought I was dead. My mouth was wired shut for 2 months. Everybody knew why. It was humiliating.
You know what it feels like. Then why?
That's not why I'm telling you this. Okay, yeah, I've hit you. And I've hit Tommy. But never like that. Not even close. I mean, maybe I go too far. I don't know. I don't know. But I'm doing a little better than my father did. And you know, when it's your turn, I hope you do a little better than me.
This is where the show truly breaks you down. Typically, when you have a flashback in the middle of an episode, it's something that the character is thinking about so much that you need to see it right now. But when you have a flashback at the start of an episode, it's something that the writers need you to see. That scene at the top of the episode should frame everything that follows in that episode. The question that it leaves you lingering with, did Joel do a little better than his father? We get our answer in the final scene of the episode in a darkly haunting porch scene. As Ellie confronts Joel about the lie that he told, he is forced to truly come to terms with what his dad meant back in 1983. He summarizes it by saying,
"Because I love you." In a way you can't understand. Maybe you never will. But if that day should come, if you should ever have one of your own, well then,
I hope you do a little better than me.
I hope you do a little better than me.
This is why the baby is important. This is why it's different than in the game, because she didn't get a chance to prove to Joel that she was worth dying over until this moment. The baby that Dina has is her redemption to Joel, which is why it's so important. Ellie saying this is a bit selfish. She knows deep down it's Jesse's kid, and she's hoping that when Dina tells Jesse they don't get back together, but she isn't for sure, Dina allows her to live in this moment of bliss where the two of them are happy and have this kid as an ideal because it lets Ellie be happy, and that's what Dina wants. This is what, in short, drives her new identity forward. I need to take care of whatever I need to take care of in Seattle, so when I do return to Jackson, I can be a better father than Joel was, so I can prove to him that I was worth protecting, that I was worth dying over. This is why there is disconnection in her face when she is torturing Nora. If it doesn't pertain to where is Abby, she doesn't care. She just throws it to the side. Ellie can't address this yet. She is emotionally incapable of doing so. But you can't say I'm gonna kill this person who killed my dad and then return to my home where I'll be a dad. That's not how that works. Ellie needs to deal with these emotions that are behind wanting to do something like this. To be even more direct, Ellie doesn't want to deal with these emotions because admitting that she needs to deal with them would be admitting that she was a passenger and not a survival partner to Joel. We can see this in small as when Nora tells Ellie that,
I don't care. You don't care. He killed everyone in that hospital, including the only fucking person alive that can make a cure from you. That was Abby's father. And Joel shot him in the head. That's what he did.
she responds with,
I know.
This almost certainly creates a convergence of self for Ellie here. Her sense of self becomes drenched in a thick rain. As she returns to the theater and tells Dina that it was easy to torture Nora, she also tells Dina what Joel did to save her and his actions at the hospital. She chooses in some way to address the ongoing storm within her. What an intriguing change in ideals this presents. Ellie desperately tries to reach out, but Dina can barely address it because of how in shock she is. The only thing Dina can muster here is a,
Did you know who they were?
which is a statement that carries so many implications. How much of this does this change from Dina's perspective in episode 5? She says it doesn't matter, he didn't deserve this, but now that she knows the cost, this is speculative, but a question we should be asking. He has doomed Dina's kid in some way. Her kid now has to grow up in a place with an infected. Will she resent Ellie a bit for this? I think to answer this question, yes, seems to jump the gun a bit. I think it's a maybe with an asterisk. If it does deal with this, it will be subtle and ambitious. For me, it already feels like Ellie resents Dina a bit, like a kid who your mom kept comparing you to.
Oh, please. Dina does this shit all the time. No one's putting her on the fucking fence.
That's the dynamic for the early stuff with Ellie and Dina. And do they deal with this? No, they don't. It's put in the background. Like Ellie's grief is for most of the season, it's entirely quiet, and often she doesn't speak a word about how Joel's death affects her. First off, why would she tell the community that keeps talking about her behind her back about her relationship with Joel? They will just gossip to high heavens about it. They'll just keep talking about her. They'll keep denying her privilege to be better than she is. But more than that, we see how it affects her. She stops eating unless Dina forces her to eat something for a kiss. She stops thinking logically, choosing to go back to the hospital rather than back to the theater to check on Dina. She sacrifices herself to stop the stalkers as a chance to maybe get the upper hand on them. Ellie is trying to present as fine, and people keep buying that she is, but really she is not fine. It's the equivalent to the dog sitting at the table with the fire around him. She's not okay. But more than that, before Nora, she never has a moment where she gets to let her true self be seen and at the same time feel no fear. A way to let loose on someone through anger. She never gets that moment. Like, it's important to recognize that she is feeling no fear in an underground area infected with spores and not in a city with people who are clear allusions to how violent David and his groupies were. The show is fascinated by the quiet grief that takes her over, the long looks that Ellie gives, the subtle thinking that she does through the smile, or as the show has been directly showing us, the storm that she has been working her way through.
Let me know if you see any outcroppings or spots with cover.
Why? Looks okay.
It's pretty simplistic in the game, mostly used as a way to externalize how Ellie is feeling, but more so to showcase where we are at on days. Throughout the entire season, there's this heavy focus on the storm as a confrontation with identity. Ellie mentions that there's a storm coming. It starts to slowly rain as Ellie's emotions start to cut through her mask. Then, as the mask fully slips and when she wails on Nora, it is at a full downpour. But as the identity symbol needs to be addressed, by the time she is beating on Nora, Ellie has already lost herself. The show has a bunch of little symbols to keep track of, like the guitar is a symbol for who Joel was before the lie was revealed, his revolver as a symbol for who he was after the lie was revealed, moths as a symbol for death, the communities as a symbol for factionalism, the giraffe even becomes a reoccurring symbol. It goes from a quiet moment shared between two people to a taped-in symbol for where Joel's actions took place, a place where the fireflies are buried. I like the storm metaphor. It carries so much emotional weight. But the change and addition I really like is to get rid of the handshake and to replace it with wheezing. In the game, Ellie's handshakes as obsession, anger, and anxiety take her over. This works great in the game because it's about anger. But the show has a focus on Ellie's wheezing or super heavy breathing, which starts to take over as her obsession, anger, and anxiety grow. Yes, but let me ask you, when do we start heavy breathing? When do we start wheezing? When it feels like something heavy is dropped on us. This wheezing works great as a symbolism for fear. Ellie is often seen trying to catch her breath, as if the weight of everything that she is dealing with is just too much. She needs to find a way to get out from underneath it. Ellie gets kicked in the ribs in episode 2, and the show never really provides a solution to this heavy breathing because it can't yet. Ellie is still stuck in the middle of trying to find closure in Joel's death, which is why the heavy breathing keeps returning. All this to say that yes, while we have seen Ellie physically happy this entire season, it's clear that she's questioning who she is, what her place in the world is, what all this stuff is going to turn her into, and so on.
What, you didn't believe her speech?
Did you?
Of course not. She's a liar.
Well, there's a difference between lying and being a liar.
Oh, I know. And that one? Liar.
We have to remember that when the outbreak started in the first season, Joel was in his late 20s, early 30s. He had already started to answer some of these questions that Ellie seems to be pondering. So when he loses Sarah and goes on a dark 20-year journey, and then Ellie pulls him out from under all that, he had an identity that he can return to, which is why in spring, he returns to how he was in the prologue. Ellie does not have that. She has no definition of self because ironically, Joel never let her do anything to define her. In episode 6, when Ellie is 16, she asks if she can start going on patrols. Joel tells her she is not ready and to enjoy being a kid. The problem is, when Ellie went on the road with Joel when she was younger, being out in the open air, exploring and hunting for supplies. This is something that Joel taught her to do. For me, she seeks doing this whenever she's at a fork in the road, because being out in the open air allows for her to develop her own story, which makes it all the more heartbreaking when he prevents her from going on patrols until she's 19. Let's summarize. Joel prevents Ellie from finding closure in Riley's death by lying to her about there being no cure. Joel prevents Ellie from feeling like Jackson can truly become her own by forcing her to lie about being infected. Joel implicitly encourages Ellie to suppress parts of herself, including her queerness, to fit the version of her he's comfortable with. Joel continually devalues Ellie by not placing the amount of respect that she has earned from him by killing Eugene. Joel doesn't think that Ellie is capable of fighting her own battles. Joel doesn't allow for Ellie to formulate an identity in a safe environment, so she moves to the garage behind Joel's house, hiding her true self away behind the facade that Joel wants her to outwardly present. Outwardly, she is Joel's daughter because she has to be, but inwards, she doesn't even know who this guy is. She just met him 6 years ago. I'm getting a little heated here. Joel has prevented Ellie from being her true self, and people wonder why she's mad at Joel. Joel has turned Ellie into a replacement for Sarah. To be direct here, Ellie is not a replacement for Sarah. Ellie is not Joel's daughter, and she is also not the second chance he gets to be overprotective over. Let's get down to a definition real quick. Ellie thinks of Joel as a found father figure. What is the difference between a found father and a father figure? Well, first off, the first one is one that you find. It's one that you choose. The second one is the one that you're given. Second off, what does a father do for you? What does it teach you? A father teaches you how to explore your interests in a safe environment. A father teaches you guidance through emotional, spiritual, and physical support. They are seen as providers and protectors and role models. They aren't overprotective, can't trust you to make your own decisions, and can't understand when they have done something wrong. I'm being a bit reductive here, that's kind of the point. Joel did good things for Ellie too. He saved her multiple times, treats her with respect in some areas, talks to her like a real adult while most talk down to her, lets her carry her own gun, and really values her opinion of him. But also, just because he saved her does not mean that she owes him her life. These are thoughts that Ellie has had. This, for me, is what Ellie is thinking when she confronts him about the lie. The only reason why Ellie reframes this thinking is because the night before Joel dies, she promises that she's going to try and save him. Then the next morning, before she has any chance to show him that she was really going to try, Joel is murdered in cold blood. And worse, it's done in front of her. Directly, I am saying here, Ellie's final moments with Joel does not reframe her relationship with Joel, where she thinks about the time that he prevented her from going on patrol until she was 19, but does reframe her relation to him. Joel was a good person who did not deserve any of what happened to him. If you are questioning throughout the show, why all of a sudden does she care about Joel after treating him like garbage for so long? This is why! Because she didn't get the chance to show him that she would have forgiven him, so she is overcompensating.
Heart of glass, if you shatter, darker days will come our way. I look back